Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, after days of intensive efforts by high-ranking Israeli officials aimed at convincing the Trump administration to withhold an American military withdrawal from Israel's northern neighbor Syria, U.S. President Donald Trump announced his decision to end the U.S. military mission in the war-torn country. A special Russian delegation arrived in Israel as part of efforts by Jerusalem and Moscow to bolster the coordinated mechanism between their two respective militaries in Syria. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting during which the world body's Under-Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operations told the member states that the subterranean-cross-border passageways from Lebanon to Israel constitute a serious violation of Resolution 1701. After days of intensive efforts by high-ranking Israeli officials aimed at convincing the Trump administration to withhold an American military withdrawal from Israel's northern neighbor Syria, U.S. President Donald Trump announced his decision to end the U.S. military mission in the war-torn country that despite the growing influence of both Russia and Iran in the region. After initially posting a statement alluding to his decision, President Trump released a televised announcement.
We've been fighting for a long time in Syria. I've been president for almost 2 years, and we've really stepped it up. And we have won against ISIS. We've beaten them, and we've beaten them badly. We've taken back the land, and now it's time for our troops to come back home. So our boys, our young women, our men, they're all coming back, and they're coming back now.
President Trump's decision to immediately withdraw the U.S. military from Syria was reportedly made in contrast to the recommendations of U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis and Pentagon officials. Some Pentagon officials voiced fear that the U.S.-backed SDF forces, which were Washington's key ally in the battle against the Islamic State, would now be left on their own to face hostilities from the triple threat of the Syrian army and the Islamic Republic's Revolutionary Guards to the south, Iranian-backed Shiite militias to the east, and the Turkish army to the north. Meanwhile, in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said following the announcement that President Trump informed him of the decision a couple of days ago, and that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo followed up on the developments pertaining to the decision. While the Israeli leader was clearly unhappy by the American decision, he underscored that Israel will study the consequences of the U.S. withdrawal. Furthermore, he noted that the Trump administration assured him that they have alternative ways to preserve Washington's influence in the area.
אני שוחחתי שלשום עם נשיא ארצות הברית דונלד טראמפ ואתמול עם מזכיר המדינה האמריקני מייק פומפאו. הממשל האמריקני אמר לי שזוהי כוונת הנשיא להוציא את כוחותיהם מסוריה. הם גם הבהירו שיש להם דרכים אחרות להביא לידי ביטוי את השפעתם בזירה. זוהי כמובן החלטה אמריקנית. אנחנו נלמד קודם כל את לוחות הזמנים שלה ואת צורת ההפעלה שלה וכמובן את ההשלכות לגבינו. בכל מקרה אנחנו נדאג לשמור על ביטחון ישראל ולהגן על עצמנו מהזירה הזאת.
While Prime Minister Netanyahu was cautious not to criticize President Trump's decision, many Israeli officials did not hold back and warned that the American withdrawal from Syria pertains to a milestone event that threatens to change the regional balance of power and to create a new reality on the ground that is not necessarily good for Israel. Among others, Israeli Construction Minister Yoav Gallant, who formerly served as an IDF general, emphasized that the American move will force Israel to make an increased effort to block the Shiite storm in the Middle East. Another vocal critic of the move is former Prime Minister, Defense Minister, and IDF Chief of Staff Ehud Barak, who was quoted as saying, "Trump is abandoning Syria and the Iranians are celebrating. Trump does not work for Netanyahu and neither does Putin. It is all deception. Only Israel is responsible for its future and its fate." Now to another matter, a special Russian delegation arrived in Israel yesterday as part of efforts by Jerusalem and Moscow to bolster the coordinated mechanism between their two respective militaries in Syria. The Russian delegation's visit, which is kept relatively quiet thus far, is viewed by Israel as highly important as it symbolizes the Kremlin's intention to alleviate the crisis that emerged after the Russian Il-20 reconnaissance aircraft was shot down in Syria some 3 months ago amid an Israeli aerial assault against Iranian targets. According to Israeli officials, over the past few days, Moscow had attempted to normalize relations with Israel by expressing its disapproval of the Hezbollah dug tunnels to the Lebanese government, demanding it prevent further violations of UN Security Council Resolution 1701 and deal with the tunnels as soon as possible to avoid an escalation. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting during which the world body's Undersecretary General for Peacekeeping Operations told the member states that the subterranean cross-border passageways from Lebanon to Israel constitute a serious violation of Resolution 1701.
The tunnels are between 29 and 46 meters below ground, difficult to detect and in close proximity to areas sensitive to both parties. While the tunnels do not appear thus far to have exit points on the Israeli side, they are a serious violation of Resolution 1701. Mr. President, this is a matter of serious concerns. The United Nations, including this headquarters, has requested the Lebanese authorities to ensure urgent follow-up actions in accordance with the responsibilities of the government of Lebanon pursuant to Resolution 1701.
In response to the allegations voiced by the Undersecretary General, the Lebanese ambassador to the United Nations, Amal Moudalali, stressed that Beirut has taken the issue of the tunnels very seriously and has said loud and clear that it is not interested in a new conflict and reiterated her country's commitment to Resolution 1701.
Today, we are witnessing another volatile situation concerning the tunnels. And Lebanon took this issue very seriously and has said loudly and clearly and on the highest level that it's not interested in a conflict, in a new conflict. Indeed, President Michel Aoun, immediately after the news came out, reaffirmed unequivocally Lebanon's commitment to Resolution 1701 in letter and its entirety. This commitment is not rhetoric, and these are not mere words, because this commitment is in the interest of my country and my people.
Ambassador Moudalali refrained from condemning Hezbollah and Iran for their cynical use of Lebanese territory to conduct offensive measures with the ultimate goal of confronting the Jewish state. Instead, the Lebanese diplomat took the opportunity to condemn Israel for violating Lebanese airspace as part of Jerusalem's declared efforts to preempt Iranian attempts to arm its Lebanese proxy with sophisticated precision-guided missiles that would significantly challenge Israel's regional qualitative edge. Prior to the UN emergency meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press briefing during which he accused the Lebanese military of failing to take action to control their own territory.
This is not merely an act of aggression, it's an act of war. And is a part of a war plan, I would say. Part of a war plan. It's been confirmed by UNIFIL. UNIFIL has confirmed the existence of these tunnels, and they have said that they represent a clear violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. The Lebanese army has been a total failure in this regard. They failed to take action to control their own territory. They failed to take action to prevent the use of their territory against the territory of a neighboring state, and they failed to dislodge the tyrannical Hezbollah. They haven't even tried.
Thank you for watching us, praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have an Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.